platform. So therefore, this is not something which needs to be experimented. It is something which needs to be experienced. Experience with unleashing people power is a great thing, and NTPC has demonstrated that when we unleash people power, what is the outcome? Unleashing people power, outcome is the NTPC. NTPC, like organization, like Dwarkanath said, like Mr. Sinha said, that we were all very happy. NTPC being recognized, one of the top 3, top 4, or top 2 top employers of the country in the public sector and in the private sector put together. Though I have not read this book, I am 100% sure, with the rich experience and the contribution that Mr. Sinha has made in his entire career, and I have been not a witness to this, I have been a part of this for a long, long period. Definitely this book would have thrown a lot of insights into what succeeds. Like Professor Pritam Singh was saying, that the context that came up, but Mr. Sinha did not leave the temptation of also trying to highlight the strategy to give meaning to the context. So I am sure this book would be of interest, would be of value, would be of relevance, not only to HR people, but to all people who wish to succeed in whatever they are working, not only in corporate, because management is absolute. Management is not something which is relative to corporate or relative to cooperatives. Management is an absolute requirement in whatever way we wish to work in any organized setting. It may be a family, it may be a village, it may be a state, it may be politics. Management is universal. And therefore, the thoughts that definitely would have gone into this book with Mr. Sinha's rich experience, and that experience not only of teaching, which he has started doing now, he was doing even earlier, but of having worked, and having worked with effectiveness, with success of something that has been demonstrated. I congratulate Mr. Sinha once again for putting his thought, and I entirely agree with Professor Singh that more and more of corporate people, professors have been writing. In the past, even professors were not writing. When we were students of management, when I did my MBA, and for quite many years, even after I did my MBA, IIM Ahmedabad, which is supposed to be the top, they were only giving case studies of relevance to USA. It's only now, in last couple of decades, when a lot of professors have started writing, including very valuable contribution which Dr. Pritam Singh himself has made. I am sure that this trend should be picked up by many others. At least I have done 4 or 5 books. So corporates like Arup has done a book. Dr. D.V. Kapoor, whose contribution and whose contributions outcome is NTPC, what we are talking today, and which has been the platform which Sinha has used for his book. He is writing a book. So definitely this emerging trend of sharing our experiences, sharing our thoughts, sharing our successes and failures, they will prove to be very, very useful case studies for everybody who wants to manage a thing, whether it is politics or any organized setting. So I once again congratulate Mr. Sinha for this useful contribution he has made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We also feel privileged to have with us Dr. Arup Roy Choudhury, CMD NTPC, who has the distinction of being the youngest CMD of Maharatna. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Choudhury.
I see the clock ticking, so I don't think I should be taking much time. But having come here, let me say that I am privileged to sit along with Mr. T.K. Nair. He's been responsible for getting me into the public sector when I was doing fairly well in the private sector. He's been responsible for showing faith on a 44-year guy who was not even eligible to become chairman of a PSU, and to pick me up there. And since then, he's been my mentor and guide. I've been going to him for many issues, most of the time, or with problems, and there has always been a solution. I must also say that Mr. Bami, of course, I did come to know him personally after I became chairman, but Mr. Bami was 2 years junior to my father-in-law in the same service, Indian Railway Accounts Service, the controlling officer, and he used to cite him as one of the bright examples of the railway accounts officers who are doing very well in public sector. Mr. Shahi, I know him, basically he knows me, I know him for quite some time. He was that dashing general manager of NTPC who used to come on many seminars. But probably he knows me as when I was in NBCC and he happened to have a query on a particular work as to how NBCC would do that work, and he was secretary power at that time. And I think I got his love and affection from that day onwards. And I see no reason why he should shower so much love and affection on me. Besides being from the same state and the same city, probably we have that much in common. What do you say about Padma Shri Professor Pritam Singh? I mean, you could say that he brings out a rabbit out of the hat at all sessions. Whenever you hear him speak, he will have something to speak, which you will take back home as a learning. Mr. D.V. Kapoor, our very, very respected first chairman. Mr. C.P. Jain, a very respected leader of the public sector. And when I started my career as CMD of a PSU, he was that time the chairman of NTPC. And I think I always looked upon him as a guide to all young CMDs of PSUs, the way he conducted himself. And I'm a great admirer of his. Well, today we are talking of Professor K.K. Sinha. Now, he said something which I need to clarify towards the end. But Sinha Sahab, I learnt a lot today about your contribution. Let me tell you, we have maintained to remain among the top 5 employers in the country. Even today we are so. So you have contributed, NTPC is following that. Your affection and love in NTPC is demonstrated by you have 4 former chairmen here and the present chairman. All of them are here in this hall. And you have so many NTPCians. So that shows that why you should rightfully have devoted only those 21 years in your first book. Because that is your first love also, I think. And I am today hearing all these things, I can put the bits together. How the P&A of NTPC was known as Panga and Aranga, to the HR department of NTPC, which was known as Hamara Raj, became at least a human relation department. So I think you played a big role in doing so, changing the profile and the role of this company into making it really a company which looks at human relations, which is very, very important for performance. I don't think I should be taking much more time. It's already 5 minutes I've taken. I must clarify to you what he said about me in the beginning. Well, when did I meet him? I met him in, I think in Scope. You came for lunch and I don't remember who was the DG then, maybe Diwan. Yeah. And we had lunch together, and that time you were still director of NTPC. And we had a quiet lunch, and that is when I came to know. And I think that was it for the time being, until I heard that he has left NTPC and has joined Reliance. And everybody says that he's a relation man, and probably he picks people with whom he wants to maintain relationship. I got a call from him one day that why don't we have lunch together? It's been a long time. I said, wonderful. Let's have lunch together. So we had lunch together in, I remember, I think India International Center, if that was right. And here we were having lunch, and Mr. K.K. Sinha was still with the Reliance group of Mukesh Ambani at that time, and later he went to Anil Ambani's group and the Jindals, and now he's a professor. He really pulled out something which I never expected. He said, why don't you join Reliance? And that was the time when I responded by saying that Mr. Nair picked me up from a private sector to run public sector. And I think I will do justice by trying to run a Maharatna company someday. And when I became chairman of NTPC, he was the first man to call me back and say that you fix your goals very well. I think it just happened. And I think since then we have been friends. Let me tell you, we have been so good friends that he went to work with Naveen Jindal. He tried to take me to Naveen Jindal also. So we've been extremely good friends. He's my well-wisher. I'm so glad that he has written a book. I'm so glad that he has written it on NTPC. I wish this book does very well. I've already bought my copy. I hope all of you are doing the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, august audience, the moment has arrived to formally release the book so that the book starts its journey of enlightening the minds of people. I request Shri T.K.A. Nair to formally release the book. The book has been published by Bloomsbury, India. It has been published by Bloomsbury, India. It's a leading independent publishing house established in 1986, having companies in London, New York, Sydney, and Delhi, and having 4 divisions across the world. There is always an inspiration behind any great work. Professor Sinha's inspiration has been his daughter, Miss Suvira Shamli. I request Shri T.K.A. Nair to present the book to Miss Suvira Shamli. And I also request Mrs. Sinha to accompany her, please. Thank you. Star. When all the stars move in the orbit, the pole star is considered to be unperturbed by the hurricanes of difficult times. They say Indian democracy has matured to a stage when some people will come forward to embrace responsibility and power along with accountability towards the country. And the forerunner in this genre of public service is a great name, Mr. T.K.A. Nair. who undertook the assignment to advise the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, with grace, which is his hallmark. I feel privileged to invite Shri T.K.N. Nair to deliver his address.
One of the founding fathers of the public sector institutions in this country, the most respected Shri D.V. Kapoor, my good friend, the inimitable Professor, I don't know how many times I sought his professorial advice and wisdom. I have met him in many avatars, in Lucknow, in Gurgaon. So Mr. Professor Pritam Singh is an inimitable person, and you heard him today. Well, I don't know how to describe Rai Choudhury. I didn't know that you were being enticed by, of all people, Sinha. I thought that he's, I never knew that you do this kind of work also.